to order. Please pause for a moment of silent meditation. Thank you very much. I'll now call upon Councilman Patoka, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure.
Is there a motion to approve the journal for the meeting of February the 1st? Is there a second? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The journal is approved. There are no bills for enrollment this evening. Mr. Secretary, you'll now read all bills for introduction. Mr. Secretary?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. First is Bill 1321, Current Expense Budget, General Fund, Office of Budget and Finance. Bill 14-21, Fire Protection Code of Baltimore County. Bill 15-21, Current Expense Budget, Police Wellness Initiatives Grant. And Bill 16-21, Current Expense Budget, General Fund, Department of Public Works.
Thank you. The chair will consider all bills for final reading and vote. Mr. Secretary, first bill, please.
First bill, Mr. Chairman, is Bill 10-21. This is a current expense budget bill, Access, and Access is an acronym, Harm Reduction Grant.
Okay. You say this is 10-21?
Yes, sir.
Do we have someone to testify for that bill?
I believe it's Mr. Richardson.
Yes. Good evening, Chairman Jones, members of the council.
Good evening.
The administration is requesting a supplemental appropriation of federal funding and totaling $458,865 to our Access Harm Reduction Grant Program. The increase of the appropriation will be to for the salaries of our 10 existing staff in our harm reduction area. It's for links to care, syringe services, case management, and naloxone training and distribution. This program looks to serve 1,500 county residents.
Fantastic, Mr. Richardson. It's a very worthwhile program for sure. Are there any questions or comments from the members? Okay, Mr. Secretary, please call a roll.
Yes, sir. Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk, Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Katz,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall.
Aye. The ayes have it. Bill 10-21 is approved. Mr. Secretary, next bill, please.
Mr. Chairman, the next bill is Bill 11-21. This measure is sponsored by Council members Quirk and Crandall. County Charter, County Council, term of office.
Has Mr. Quirk here yet?
No, Mr. Secretary and Chairman Jones, he asked that any items that he's
Okay.
sponsoring to skip over.
Okay, we'll skip over that one. Next, we'll come back to that one. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Mr. Chairman, next is fiscal matter. As you recall, extensive testimony was taken at the work session last week on Tuesday, the 23rd, and the witnesses that testified at the work session are, I believe, that are here on this WebEx to restate their testimony if necessary, or if any member has a question. Fiscal matter 1 is a contract with Canon Solutions of America Incorporated And fiscal matter number 2 is a contract with United Rentals North America Incorporated. Sir.
Okay, are there any questions? All right, Mr. Secretary, why don't you, is there a motion to approve these fiscal matters?
I'll move it.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Katz,
Aye.
Mr. Mark,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye. The ayes have it. The previous fiscal matters as mentioned are approved. Next item, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Whenever, I think we're on to miscellaneous business at this time, and whenever a contract over $25,000 is awarded other than by a process of competitive formal bid, it is required that a copy of the contract be given to the county council and the natures and parties to that contract be announced by the secretary at the next legislative session following award. There are 10 such contracts on this evening's agenda. First is a contract with 4 Imprint for sanitizer and hand sanitizer related to COVID-19, $46,427.82.
No.
Next is a contract with Worldwide Distributors Incorporated for latex gloves related to COVID-19, $123,105. Third is a contract with Classic Catering People for staffing, truck, and fuel fees, food distribution related to COVID-19 in the amount of $490,000. Next is a contract with Compass Group USA doing business as Chartwell Dining Services for grocery boxes related to COVID-19, $75,000. Next is a contract with the Maryland Food Bank Incorporated for boxed shelf stable food related to COVID-19, $724,250. Sixth is a contract with Brody Transportation Company Incorporated for dry freight and truck rental related to COVID-19, $31,895. Next is contract with Translogic Corporation doing business as Swisslog Healthcare, pneumatic tube replacement for corrections, $25,705. Next is a contract with Safeware Incorporated for disinfecting wipes, COVID-19, $73,544.09. Ninth is a contract with Worldwide Distributors Incorporated doing business as E-Lighting for disinfecting wipes, COVID-19, $219,388. And finally, a contract with W.B. Mason Company Incorporated for disinfecting wipes, COVID-19, $492,886.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Chairman Jones,
Yes,
Councilman Quirk is on now. Just wanted to let you know.
thank you so much. Mr. Secretary, what's the next item?
Next then would be switching back to call of bills for final reading and vote. Bill 11-21, sponsored by council members Quirk and Crandall, County Charter, County Council, term of office.
Okay, and I guess Councilman Quirk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry, I was running a little behind, got stuck in a meeting. Yeah, I mean, I think we talked fairly at length. I thought we had a really good discussion in our work session. And, I think for me, it's just a philosophy. Admittedly, it's a philosophy that my view has changed since the last 6-8 years. But I do think that I think term limits are good government. I think 3 terms is not too little. I don't think it's too much either. I'm pretty confident this bill is not requiring the council to decide on this. All this legislation does is actually let the people themselves decide. This would go before the the citizens. And then the citizens could say whether they think term limits are important or whether they're not. As I think most of the council members know, most polling out there locally in Baltimore region, often 70 to 75% of the citizens, whether they're Democrats or whether they're Republicans, do support term limits. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I hope that all my colleagues will consider not voting on whether we should have term limits, but in letting the people decide.
Thank you, Councilman Quirk. Are there any other comments?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. I think that Councilman Quirk has captured the spirit of this legislation in his opening remarks, and I do agree that there was healthy debate during the work session. I will reiterate my feelings that I have been for term limits and in favor of term limits for a long time, even before I took office. And until Councilman Quirk brought the issue back up again, it didn't seem that the council had a favorable temperature to at least get into the debate. So I'm glad that we did. I don't want to get back into it. I mean, I can and I will if that's what happens. But I just one of the issues that came up and one of the rebuttals that Councilman Quirk and I had during the work session was that that elections allow people to put a term limit on an elected official or not, and that the people are smart enough to make their own decisions. I don't how you reconcile the spirit of that with the notion that the voters aren't smart enough to make a decision on the ballot in 2022 over the structure of their legislative branch of county government. So I think that this measure, as Councilman Quirk said, this sends it to the people to decide whether they want term limits on the county council or not. And I don't see anything wrong with doing that. So I'll leave it at that. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. I appreciate your comment. Like you said, we had a very robust debate. It was pretty good debate, I think. And, you know, I would just state, you know, we had speakers come out. Every speaker from Baltimore County was against term limits. The only person that came out for it was a gentleman that doesn't live in Baltimore County, and he was from Montgomery County. I understand the debate and understand the argument that the people will decide. But at the same time, the people decide each and every 4 years. People make up their mind each and every 4 years. And I sent an article, or I should say a commentary from the Baltimore Sun, where the author from the Baltimore Sun, it was very timely, said that term limits basically gives the expertise to the lobbyists and the politicos, and not the people's representative, because the people's representative with term limits never get an opportunity to become the expert. So that's where I stand. I believe in the people's right to choose, and I think they choose already whether or not, and if you look at the turnover in Baltimore County, I think they've been doing a good job in terms of turning over people when their time is up. I felt the arguments last week very interesting because it took a turn and started talking about, you know, who can raise money and who can't raise money. And I was sitting up there thinking to myself, well, what about wealthy people who spend their own money? Should we tell them they can't spend their own money? What about good-looking people? Should we say obscure your looks because that may give you some unfair advantage? What about smart people? Well, no, you shouldn't be smart. Let's dumb you down so that there can be some I don't know what. You know, the reality is the people are very smart. Some people show up with various advantages. Some people don't. At the end of the day, the people decide. At the end of the day, the people decide whether or not they want to support someone for reelection or election. And the problem with the argument that let's just leave it up to the people that would make that decision would not be the people that would decide whether or not they want to keep the council person from District 4 10 years from now, or whether or not they would want to keep the person from District 7 10 years from now. So to me, the best people to make that decision is the people at that particular moment, at that particular election, and let them decide. So as to not, I've certainly gave my 2 cents. We've heard from Councilman Crandall, Councilman Quirk. Does anybody else want to make a statement before we call for the vote?
Yes,
Chairman.
Mr. Chair.
Chair. Oh, I'm sorry.
Councilman Marks first, and then Councilwoman Bevins.
Sure. Thank you very much. I, like Councilman Quirk, my position on this has evolved a bit. When I was first elected in 2010, we had a number of members from the previous council who had served 16 years, one served 20 years. And I told the Baltimore Sun that I thought it was important to have an automatic turnover in government. And I thought Councilwoman Bevins actually made a very good point at the last work session that we have had, a turnover on the county council. In fact, 60% of the county council since 2010 is new. We could have a number of vacancies in the next election. And it seems to me we've achieved a constant turnover in government without necessarily restricting the choices of Baltimore County voters. So like Councilman Quirk, I think my position is evolving on this. I've struggled with this decision, this choice. On the other side, I have always favored giving the voters the right to make decisions on charter amendments. We supported public financing for campaigns. And, as a Republican, I had some heartburn about that at times. And in the end, I supported putting it on the ballot because I think there is some merit to that idea. And the voters agreed to enact that into the charter. So there's an example where, I said to myself, I think the voters could make that decision. So I just want to say, my position has evolved on this, and it doesn't have anything to do with my personal position. I'm getting certified to teach. I may not run, who knows? But I think what is different now as opposed to 2012 is that we have had that turnover on the council, and it's just naturally through attrition. And it's not something that has been reinforced by a charter amendment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilwoman Bevins.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with many of the comments that have been made, especially with something just rang true to me, Councilman Jones, regarding when you said, why should someone in another part of the county get to decide, who's going to serve in the 4th district or the 7th district or the 6th district, because, that's not who represents them. And that really rang a bell for me, because I remember when the outlets went to referendum, the further west you got, the less people voted for, and a lot voted no because they didn't understand it or they didn't care about it. And although it passed, it didn't come to fruition at the end of the day, but although it did pass in the referendum, the voters made that decision. It seemed very unfair to the people on the east side that wanted it so badly that the people on the west side, had a say in it, since whether it be traffic or whatever the case may be, was not going to affect them. So I totally understand that. And David, yes, I made the point also about in 2010, we were elected into a council, we were 5 new members. And it wasn't because one person that, was leaving was on the term limit. I also always find it very interesting that, no disrespect, but Councilman Quirk is not going to run again. So it's very easy for him to say that. I know that he didn't support it in 2012 when it was brought up. It was tabled. He did not support it. And I know you can change your mind about things. I change my mind about things all the time, but I try to remember the 7 members that were in before us, before 2010, who made huge decisions on pensions for council members, and each one of them made sure that it didn't affect theirs, but it would affect everyone that came after them. And that's kind of how I feel about this. We come into office, we serve because we want to serve. We either move on to something else or the voters decide they don't want to support you anymore and put somebody else in the office, and or you just decide you don't want to run again. And again, I think that every 4 years, people come out and make that decision. And again, the state delegation, they have no term limit. So why would you limit local government and not limit them? I mean, I'm just saying, if you're going to do it. So everybody's on the equal playing field. It's not fair to me that I'm working on certain projects. And trust me, I've been here 10 years and I'm still waiting for projects to get done that I got funding for many, many years ago. But things happen and money, all of a sudden there's no money, or just, there's a snag. Things happen and they don't happen. So, I would like to see my projects come to fruition and the things that I have worked on, and not necessarily would it take 8 or 12 years. And I just wonder, for those who do support the term limits, if they would be willing to term themselves out right now and say, you know what, even though this won't go to the voters till the next election and 4 years after that, I'm going to term myself out after 8 years. I wonder how many are willing to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bevins. Are there any more questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councilman Patoka.
Thank you. So I've been very conflicted about this issue and have been going back and forth in terms of whether I'm going to support term limits or vote against term limits. In fact, just 3 weeks ago, I was quite clear that I was going to vote in favor of term limits. But I've been talking to lots of folks. Every phone call I have, I want to hear what the sentiment is among people that I interact with daily. So I've been doing a lot of listening, and every phone call ends with, "Hey, what do you think about putting term limits on the ballot?" And getting a variety of answers, but it's really helped me decide where I'm going to be. Most recently, I attended a Baltimore County Progressive Democrats Club, which I attend regularly. I'm a member of that club. And so I asked the club to do a straw poll on, do you support term limits, putting term limits on the ballot, or do you not? And the club overwhelmingly was against term limits. With all due respect to Peter Richkus, who I know is here and I think very highly of, and she shared her thoughts with me, and with all due respect to Sasha and Heber, these are voices that I respect. The clubs that I belong to, I respect their voices. So just 3 weeks ago, I fully intended to vote in support of term limits, but today I'm going to vote against this piece of legislation, based on what I've heard from constituents that I have a high level of respect for. And as I mentioned, I heard some voices on the other side, and not to diminish the respect I have for those folks as well.
Thank you, Councilman Patoka.
Chair,
Yes, Councilman Katz.
yes, I've been quiet on this issue for rather obvious reasons. And this particular piece of legislation represents a fundamental change in county government. limiting the number of terms that a council member can serve. But we're not really voting on the term limits issue. What we're voting on is whether or not to give the people of the county the vote as to whether or not they want to limit the terms on the council or not. So I find it very difficult to vote against something that you're giving the decision to the people of Baltimore County. So for that reason, I'm going to vote for this bill.
Thank you, Councilman Catch.
Chair- Mr. Chair,
Yes,
can I ask Mr. Catch just one quick question? Councilman Catch, how many terms did you serve in Annapolis?
10.
10. Would you
Yes.
have ever do you believe in term limits?
Do I personally believe in term
Yes.
limits?
Mhm.
I'm conflicted with it. I see advantages and disadvantages. As far as this particular bill goes, it would limit the terms to 3, which is fine with me. But I, at the time, each time I ran for reelection, I mean, that was and is the law. So I think that any situation where you're giving the voters the choice.
We do on election day. We absolutely do.
I'm sorry, what?
We do.
Oh,
on
well, I know the arguments back and forth. And I have a lot of respect for on both sides. A lot of respect for it because I think they were good, very good. But on when it comes to giving the people the choice on this issue, I'm going to vote in favor of it to give them the option of either supporting or not supporting term limits for county council.
okay. I think we've heard from everyone, and it's been a very good debate. And on this note, is there a motion? Mr. Secretary, is there a motion to approve the bill?
Before we get to that, there is an amendment, and I obviously don't know how this is going to go, but there is an amendment to the bill in consultation with the county attorney. We felt it was appropriate. It's a minor amendment, but the bill itself states that if ratified, would take effect beginning with the election in 2022, and that language was modeled after the term limit that was for the county executive many years ago. But in discussions with the county attorney, we felt in order to make it crystal clear, the proposed amendment sponsored by Councilman Quirk would substitute that language with that it would take effect for the general election to be held in 2026. Because in actuality, this will not become effective even if it's ratified by the voters. If it passes, if it's ratified in 2022, it wouldn't take effect until the 2026 election. So this amendment would just make that crystal clear.
So Mr. Secretary, just so I understand this correctly, so even those who are voting for term limits tonight will not only be able to serve 3 terms, but they could probably serve 4, even if they vote for this legislation tonight.
Correct.
Sweet. Okay. Got it. Thanks.
Well, Councilwoman Bevins, that's how the county charter works. So sorry to inform you of that.
You're not informing me of anything, Mr. Crandall. I've been around a little bit longer than you, but thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Secretary, why don't you call the roll on the amendment?
Well, I think,
Motion to approve.
yeah,
Motion and second. Sorry.
it's a technical amendment. I mean, I'll move the technical amendment, but it's just making it clear because of the charter and the mechanisms behind it. That's all it is. It's a technical amendment, but I'll move it.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Call the roll on the amendment, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, sir. Mr. Jones,
No.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Katz,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
No,
Mr. Crandall.
Aye.
they're self-serving.
So the amendment is passed.
Does the amendment, I guess the amendment passed, Mr. Secretary?
Yes, sir.
Paul, is there a motion to approve the bill?
I'll move the bill as amended.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, call the roll on the bill as amended.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Jones,
No.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Nay.
Katz,
Aye.
Mr. Jones. I'm sorry, I already called Mr. Jones. Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
No,
Mr. Crandall.
Aye.
The bill, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
No, go right ahead.
In order to pass and be moved on to ratification by the voters, it required 5 votes. By my calculation, and Ms. Del Castro, correct me if I'm wrong, it has 4 votes and 3 against, and therefore does not, therefore fail.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Next item, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Next is Resolution 2-21, Metropolitan District Extension number 166 for Pot Spring Road. This is a resolution that had been deferred a few times, but is on for a vote this evening.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go right ahead.
I want to thank the administration for their work on this particular bill. What had happened is the original proposal would extend public water and sewage to areas that are zone resource conservation. So what the amendment does, it removes those areas and includes the 67 acres that are DR zoned. So I want to thank the administration. I thought it'd be a simple amendment. I don't know if any one of you have looked at it, but it is a very complicated amendment. But that was, Mr. Secretary, we haven't voted on the amendment, have we?
No, sir.
I thought not. Okay, so I think I just explained it.
Better than I could.
I want to move the amendment.
Amendment has been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, call the roll on the amendment.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Katz,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins.
aye.
The ayes have it. The amendment has passed. Mr. Secretary, now is there a motion to approve the bill as amended? Been moved. I'll second it. Mr. Secretary, call the roll, please.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you wanted to have Ms. Walker discuss the resolution itself, or just go right to the vote.
We always happy to hear from Ms. Walker.
Let me say, Mr. Chairman, that
Yes.
I think it's good that you're having her speak because her agency worked very hard on this amendment, and I appreciate all their work so much. So,
Okay.
Good afternoon, Chairman
Good
and
afternoon, Ms. Walker.
members of the council. The administration is asking for approval of an extension to the Metropolitan District. This resolution specifically 2-21 proposes to extend the boundaries to 85.708 acres of land on the west side of Pot Springs Road, south of Padonia Road. The extension of the boundaries to this land is necessary in order to provide sewer, water, utilities to the area. The land is zoned DR1 for its majority, which is 68.8 acres. The remaining land, a strip immediately along the Erdel and the eastern side of the Metropolitan District line, is zoned RC7. The extension request is supported by 100% of the property owners. The extension of the Metropolitan District itself creates no cost to the county. However, the extension of public utilities enabled by this boundary extension must be self-supported. Upon approval by Baltimore County Council, this resolution will need to be submitted to the mayor and city council of Baltimore City for their approval, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go right ahead,
Yeah,
Councilman.
this issue was proposed by Catholic Charities. This is their property on Pot Spring Road. So just to explain, nobody actually lives on this property today, but it's owned by Catholic Charities, and they are discussing possibly selling the land or maybe the county buying it for a rec and park. So this is who put this in. I think it's a little confusing. 100% of the people, nobody lives there. So, but anyhow, so that's who put it in, and I asked for its approval.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Is there a motion to approve the bill?
So moved.
It's been moved. I'll second it. Mr. Secretary, call the roll, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Katz,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk.
Aye.
Ayes have it. The bill is approved. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is Resolution 23-21. This is a resolution that was initially sponsored by Councilman Quirk and is now sponsored by all council members, entitled Recommendations, Human Trafficking in Baltimore County.
All right, Mr. Quirk.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I did want to thank my colleagues for also supporting this resolution, along with the County Executive's Office, the administration, the Department of Police. Matter of fact, the genesis of this bill came about from a police officer coming into my office, talking about how frustrated he was that he was fairly powerless to do anything about human trafficking. I'm like, what in the world do you mean? And so he told me what he meant. Is like currently, unfortunately, the only thing a police officer can do when, for example, there's a massage parlor that's anything but massages happening, is they can arrest pretty much the victim, the female that is basically being trafficked or exploited would be the word. And I'll be very direct about this, and I'm going to say it in public. This is really a lot about the New Jersey mob, period. I'm going to put it right on the table. This is exactly what's happening. Is they're trafficking women all over the place, and we're unfortunately one of the hot zones in Baltimore County because of our proximity to the ports, our proximity to the airport, our proximity to 95, to 70. And unfortunately, we have a major problem with this, a major problem. And this was brought, again, to my attention by a police officer that wanted to do more and couldn't. And so we thought this was a solution with Adam Phillips and Tom Boss. We actually thought we could find a solution to this fairly easily. We looked at what Montgomery County had done legislatively. We also looked at what Howard County had done. Unfortunately, some of the solutions have had a lot of unintended consequences that was fairly surprising. And so much so that some of the victims rights groups, have some big issues here, which surprised me. So this resolution is just in good faith to put our best people and have a good group of people look at this and try to find a better way than what Montgomery County has done or what Howard County's done. Something that hopefully we can really give us some good enforcement and really go at the root of this problem, root of this problem, which is a ton of money, unfortunately, is made through the exploitation of normally young females that are being trafficked. So I appreciate the time.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Councilman Catch.
Yes, the Women's Commission, I guess it's about 3 or 4 years ago, issued a report on this human trafficking, and I was shocked when I read it, and especially shocked when I saw the parts of Baltimore County that were where this was occurring. And Towson at the time was a real hotbed. I don't know if it still is, no pun intended, but so I don't know if it still is, but the Women's Commission recommended a reorganization and cooperation between the various law enforcement agencies. And so I want to thank Councilman Quirk and the staff of the council for all the work they've put into this issue. And let's just hope that this is the end of it, that we can stop this. When I was a teacher, I had an 8th grade student who every day after school, a limousine would pick her up. And, some investigation, I found out that this is what she was, and I'm going to used for. And of course, I reported to social services and it was taken care of. But can you imagine? I mean, it just stunned me, an 8th grader that was a victim of human trafficking. So again, thank you, Councilman Quirk and the staff of the council.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, I did not. Who was that? Ms. Hewitt, is that you?
It was
Was
Ms.
that-
Rogers. Ms. Rogers,
Ms.
would like to speak.
Okay.
If I may, Councilman, well, to all the council members, unfortunately, this is not an issue that's going to go away anytime soon without proactive action. So of course, the resolution is just definitely necessary. My background is in human services, and this is something that is a national phenomenon that has flown under the radar for a very long time. But I'm really pleased that here in the county, the Human Trafficking Work Group, we do have an established work group that's an integrated multidisciplinary work group, and they have indeed held 2 seminars and plan additional seminars that's open to the public. But we're going to have to work aggressively on this issue because it is a national problem. When I worked at the federal level, you'd be surprised at, how this happens and people don't even realize it. Councilmember Catch, I'm not surprised at what you're saying because, as I said at the work session, foster youth are often targets for this terrible human trafficking industry, if you will. So any work that we can continue to do, but just wanted to say that I'm pleased that the Human Trafficking Work Group is working. It's still working. And hopefully with our joint concerted efforts that we can, eliminate these issues here and deal with our communities being a hotbed because of our proximity to Interstate 95. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. Are there any more comments what I'll say is, I thank you, Councilman Quirk, for bringing this issue up. Clearly, human trafficking is despicable. And I certainly support and would support any laws that would hold the ringleaders accountable. And I think it's very incumbent upon us as, as legislators and to make sure that we focus our attention, and hopefully the police are doing so, focus their attention on the ringleaders and not so much the victims. So on that note, if there's no additional comments, I will go ahead and call the roll. Or is there a first and a second?
I move the resolution.
Okay, it's been moved in first and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Katz,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Marks.
Aye.
And I.
Oh, did I not call? I'm sorry, Mr. Quirk. Mr. Quirk.
Yeah, I definitely, yes.
It's what you get for being the lead sponsor.
Okay, so the ayes have it. I'm very proud of each and every one of us for taking this very strong position. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is Resolution 24-21. This is a resolution to approve the continuation of the state of emergency pursuant to Executive Order initially number 2020-002.
Any questions or comments from the members?
And I believe
If not-
Mr. Benjamin is here, sir.
Oh, Mr. Benjamin, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the council. Resolution 24-21 seeks approval of the continuation of the local state of emergency initially declared by the county executive on March 13th, 2020 in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Most recently, the council has authorized the continuation of the state of emergency with the approval of Resolution 10-21, which is set to expire on March 6th of this year. Resolution 24-21 declares it is likely the state of emergency will continue beyond March 6, 2021, and authorizes the continuation of the state of emergency for an additional 30 days, March 6, 2021, ending April 5th, 2021, or when the county executive declares an end to the state of emergency, whichever occurs first. A state of emergency was proclaimed by Governor Hogan on March 5th, 2020, and was most recently renewed on February 19th. And so the state of emergency issued by Governor Hogan is still in effect. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benjamin. Any questions or comments by the members? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I move it.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, call the roll, please.
Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk, Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Katz,
I'd like to ask the administration to please take another look at the rules and regulations as they pertain to the Department of Recreation and Parks. Our children are already suffering because of some of these restrictions. And so I'd like them to take another look at it. And that was an explanation of my vote, which is yes.
Mr. Marks,
I agree with Councilman Catch, but aye.
Mrs. Bevins, Mrs. Bevins,
Sorry.
and Mr. Crandall.
I concur with Councilman Catch. However, I'm a no.
I believe the ayes have it. The resolution is approved. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next is Resolution 25-21. sponsored by Councilman Jones, to authorize the property tax refund to Mr. Melvin Thomas, who as a disabled veteran is entitled to a refund under state law.
Mr. Secretary, is this the same Melvin Thomas on resolution 32-21?
Mr. Chair, that's been corrected.
Yes, we corrected that one.
Okay, fantastic. It's my honor and privilege to move the resolution.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, call the roll, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Katz,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Ms. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Marks.
Aye.
Mr.
Ayes have it.
Secretary, I'm sorry, excuse me.
No, go right ahead.
I
The
was just asking the secretary who's Melvin Douglas? Was he an actor?
Michael Douglas.
Was, wasn't he?
He was an actor.
That was Michael and Kurt.
He was an actor in California, yeah.
Oh, okay. So, okay, my wife just said he's an old time actor, so I knew it was familiar, but thank you.
Sure. So the ayes have it. 21 is approved. Mr. Secretary, next resolution, please.
Next is Resolution 26-21. This is also a resolution sponsored by Councilman Jones to authorize the property tax refund to Mr. Michael Mullint, who as a disabled veteran is entitled to a refund under state law.
My honor and privilege to move the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, call the roll, please.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mrs. Evans,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Resolution 26-20 is approved. Next resolution, Mr. Secretary.
Next is Resolution 27-21. This is a resolution sponsored by Councilman Marks to authorize the property tax refund, that is a partial refund, to Jeannie Chen, who as a blind person is entitled to a partial refund under state law.
It's my honor to move the resolution.
Second.
Seconded. It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr.
Aye.
Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Katz,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins, Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Resolution 27 is approved. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next is Resolution 28-21. This resolution is sponsored by Councilman Quirk and authorizes the property tax refund to Sidney Stern, who as a disabled veteran is entitled to a refund under state law.
I'll move it.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, call the roll, please.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Katz,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Resolution 28-21 is approved. Mr. Secretary, next item.
Next is Resolution 29-21, sponsored by Councilman Jones. This is a resolution to authorize the property tax refund to Mr. Jeffrey Williams, who as a disabled veteran is entitled to a refund under state law.
Okay, it's my honor and privilege to move the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on resolution 29-21.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Katz,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mrs. Evans,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Resolution 29-21 is approved. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next is Resolution 30-21. This resolution is sponsored by Councilman Patoka and authorizes the property tax refund to Mr. David Foster, who as a disabled veteran is entitled to a refund under state law.
It is my honor to move this motion forward.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Katz,
Aye.
Mr. Mark,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Resolution 30-21 is approved. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, is Resolution 31-21. This is a resolution to give public disclosure to Mr. Charles Riddle, who is a county employee with the fire department and who has requested a variance to build a garage on his property, an administrative variance to build a garage on his property. And this is again sponsored by Councilman Katz because Mr. Riddle lives in his district.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
I move the bill.
It's been moved. I'll second it. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 31-21.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Katz,
Aye.
Mr. Mark,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Resolution 31-21 is approved. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next is Resolution 32-21. This resolution is sponsored by Councilman Jones to authorize the property tax refund to Mr. Anthony Johnson, who as a disabled veteran is entitled to a refund under state law.
It's my honor and privilege to move the resolution.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 32-21.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Katz,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Mark.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Resolution 32-21 is approved. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is Resolution 33-21. This is a resolution sponsored by all council members. This resolution establishes the Baltimore County Councilmanic Redistricting Commission. And if you would like me to explain the resolution, Mr. Chairman?
Go right ahead, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, sir. Every 10 years, the county council is required to redraw the district maps, the 7 maps that make up each of your districts. And Section 207 of the Baltimore County Charter requires the county council to initiate this process by establishing a 5-member redistricting commission which will hold at least 3 public hearings during this process, and then recommend to the county council legislation to revise, amend, or reconstitute the 7 council districts in order to comply with the law as required. Upon receipt of the commission's recommendation, the county council will then hold at least 1 public hearing on the commission's recommendation and will adopt a final redistricting plan by legislative act in accordance with the county charter and law. The charter requires the redistricting commission to be formed by March 1st, which is tonight.
Thank you very, very much. Is there any further business to come before the council?
We just need a motion. Unless there are any questions, we just need a motion and second.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot about that.
I'll move
Yes.
it.
Second.
It's
Mr.
moved
Chair.
and seconded. Yes, Councilman Crandall,
No, it's Councilman Patoka.
Patoka?
Just, were we about to conclude the meeting?
Unless that, well, we had to make
Gotta
this vote.
vote.
I
And
just
then
wanted to note, I noticed Miss Bensley has been at the meeting the entire time. And I just wanted to say to her that I have heard nothing but outstanding remarks about your work with the Landmarks Preservation Commission. And so I just wanted to pass that along.
Thank you, Mr. Patoka.
We do have a public hearing on a proposed final landmark property immediately after this, immediately after the council's business is concluded.
Right.
Don't we vote now?
So we have a motion and a second then on
On resolution 33-21, it's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, call the roll.
Chris, do you have those?
No, I do not, because there were too many people talking at one time. So if we could please move and second that again so that I can get it on record.
Resolution 33-21, is there a motion to approve it?
I move.
It's been moved.
I'll second.
Seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on resolution 33-21.
Yes, sir. Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Katz,
Aye.
Mr. Mark.
Aye.
I wasn't sure if that was Mr. Crandall's vote. I think we might have to check that. I wasn't sure if he indicated aye or not.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Okay. The ayes have it. Resolution 33-21 is approved. Mr. Come before the council.
There is no further business, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Is adjourned. We will now, Mr. Secretary, go right into our landmark preservation commentary.
Yes, sir. Would you like me to, or would you, however you'd like me to handle it, sir?
No, go right ahead and read it as it's customary. Blah, blah, blah.
Yes, sir. This public hearing is now convened by the county council and will come to order. The hearing is pursuant to the provisions of the county code on the following issue, final landmarks list addition, Christ Evangelical Lutheran Church, excluding 1960s concrete block addition and setting, 16530 Trenton Church Road in Upper Co, Maryland. The rules of procedure for the hearing are as follows. Anyone wishing to speak should have registered online using the speaker registration form on the council's virtual sessions and hearings webpage prior to the hearing. Each speaker that is signed up will be limited to 3 minutes. The council members, if they desire, may certainly ask brief questions. Initially, Taylor Bensley from the Department of Planning is on the WebEx and will speak briefly on the final landmarks edition.
Okay, are there speakers, Mr. Secretary?
Ms. Belcastro?
Just Chris?
Speakers?
We have one speaker this evening, and I guess I will call upon that speaker once Ms. Bensley has given her presentation.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Bensley, I think, has the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman Jones and members of the council. As Mr. Bosler told you, this is a public hearing for preliminary landmark number 415, the Christ Evangelical Lutheran Church, excluding the 1960s concrete block addition setting at 16530 Trenton Church Road in Upper Co. This property was nominated by the church council, and at the hearing before the Landmarks Preservation Commission, 2 community members testified in support of the nomination, and there was no testimony in opposition. The Christ Evangelical Lutheran Church is located in northern Baltimore County in the village of Trenton, formerly known as Zucksville. The area is rural in nature and consists of farmlands and mid to late 19th and early 20th century homes. The Christ Evangelical Lutheran Church, also known as Christ Church, sits on approximately 3 acres on the west side of Trenton Church Road, just south of the intersection of Trenton Road. The site is located west of Black Rock Road and east of Hanover Pike. The historic church and addition are centrally located on the property, with a cemetery to the west and a parking lot and wooded grove area to the east. Children's play equipment and a modern shed are located to the southeast of the church addition. The property is accessible by a paved driveway that leads off the Trenton Church Road and into the parking lot. The driveway also forks to the west, passes in front of the church's main entrance, extends under a cemetery entrance arch, and continues into the cemetery. The village of Trenton started with the construction of the first grist mill by J. George Zuck in approximately 1839. By 1850, J. George George Zuck's sons, John C. and George C. Zuck, operated a grist mill, sawmill, and store. Between 1850 and 1877, the name of the village changed from Zucksville to Trenton, and Trenton Road, the main route that runs through the community that is still used today, became extensively developed with residences, barns, and other buildings and stores needed for the survival of the small milling town. By 1858, Trenton contained 15 dwellings, a large grist mill and merchant's mill, a store, a blacksmith, a wheelwright, a physician, a saddler, a shoemaker, a temperance hall, a post office, a public school, a distillery, 2 masons, multiple carpenters, and had 2 additional structures under construction. Milling villages tended to be self-sustaining in nature. The shops and industries in the village were designed to serve those in the communities, with the church being an important component. Because of this, in 1859, the Trenton Christ Evangelical Lutheran Church was constructed to meet the community's needs. By 1881, Trenton's population had reached 75, and the village continued to maintain its original form and buildings. Going into the early 20th century, the village did not continue to expand, which is confirmed by the 1915 County Atlas. To date, however, Trenton has retained much of its late 19th century character, and the area has seen changes. The Landmarks Preservation Commission voted to place this site on the preliminary landmarks list under 2 criteria. Criteria 1, for its association with a personality, group, event, or series of events of historical importance, and criteria 2 as a distinctive example of a particular architectural style. Meeting criteria 1, the Christ Evangelical Lutheran Church is representative of many of the small rural community churches built throughout Baltimore County during the second half of the 19th century. Additionally, the church is significant to the history and development of the village of Trenton, as it was the first church to be constructed within the immediate boundaries of the small milling community. Grist and merchant mills played an important part in the development of the rural parts of Baltimore County and throughout the state as a whole, as they simulated much of the growth seen in the rural communities like Trenton during the second half of the 19th century. Trenton's development was similar to other milling communities in Baltimore County, such as Dance's Mill in Long Green, Gorsuch Mill, and the mills in Moncton. Christ Church is also significant for its association with the Lutheran Church and its expansion in the state of Maryland. Meeting criteria 2, the Christ Evangelical Lutheran Church is a representative example of a vernacular gable-end church, a style that can often be seen in rural communities. The entire parcel, 3 acres total, tax map number 26, parcel number 117, tax ID account number 0503023050, was delineated as the site's historic environmental setting.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tinsley. Are there any speakers, Ms. Belcastro?
Yes, we have one speaker this evening. That would be Mr. John Hebb, and I will call upon him now to give his 3-minute testimony.
Thank you.
Mr. Hebb,
Yes.
you may begin your testimony.
My name is John Hebb. I'm born and raised in Maryland. I went to a graduate of University of Maryland School of Law. I also will graduate from Georgetown Medical School in May. I'm on this call because my family has a 150-acre farm that's adjacent to the church, and so the church is very important, not only to also my family. So another great presentation by the Historical Landmark Preservation Board. I really don't have much to add to that. The only thing that I would like to say is the whole impetus for the church come before the Landmark Preservation Commission was to make sure that the town of Trenton remains as possible, specifically our farmland, 150-acre farmland adjacent to the church. We have an easement with the state of Maryland wherein we have foregone our development rights. So basically we can't sell any of that farmland to make developments on there. And the reason that we want to do that is in order to sort of maintain the historical preservation of the church. Not only has our land been placed in an easement with the state of Maryland to prevent further development, most of the land in the town has also been placed in an easement with the state of Maryland in order to sort of prevent further housing development, and mainly to that the town of Trenton remains sort of as historical as possible. And I think one important other mention is that COVID has hit sort of all of us pretty hard. but specifically the rural country churches. Many have sort of shuttered or closed down because sort of they haven't had, you know, the funds to support themselves, and this sort of is and, you know, make sure that the communities in Baltimore County are further supported. Other than that, I really want to thank you guys for considering this. I know it's late on a Monday, and I know you guys have been working all day. So thank you very much for your time, and I will take myself off the air.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hebb. And we certainly appreciate your comments and your consideration of us being here all day. And we certainly appreciate the comments from Ms. Bensley from the Planning Department. Are there any questions or comments from the members?
Mr. Chairman, Trenton is in my district, and I want to thank all those that work so hard to get Christ Church on the landmarks list. And so do we need this resolution moved?
No, sir. Once once
Okay.
this hearing is concluded, that's all she wrote.
News.
Yep. Thank you very much. Any
Uh,
additional
Mr.
questions or
Chairman,
comments from the members?
The next step would be potentially legislation to add it to the final landmarks list.
Okay.
And that'll come a little bit later.
All
Mr.
right.
Secretary, you have my permission to do that.
Very well, thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments from the members?
Nope.
Seeing no additional comments or questions, this hearing is now adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, good. Any additional comments or anything from any of the members before we call it a night?
To Julian. Night, night.
Mr. Chair,
Good night.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes,
Chair.
one last comment.
one
Ms.
last,
Bensley, tell all the planners they're doing a great job.
Will do. Thank you.
Mhm.
all right. Thank you, Councilman.
Good night, everyone.
We had to